1, 2, 3, 4, now she's ready, now it's time. A Boston girl who knows true crime. She got cash, attitude, but a person in a dark blue. She knows Sunday, she knows summer, now she's ready, now it's time. A Boston girl who knows true crime. She got cash, attitude, but a person in a dark blue. She knows Sunday, she knows summer, you know wrong. Danny, after dark,
Hi, and welcome to Danny After Dark. If you're new here, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss a notification or a new episode. Tonight is my CrimeCon 2024 Nashville recap show, and I am so excited to talk about this with you guys. I have a lot of pictures to show you, a lot of different things to talk to you guys about what I did, who I got to meet while I was there. And of course, I bought a ton of books, so I can't wait to show you guys that. But there's a lot to recap, and I'm excited to do so. It was an amazing, amazing trip. So if anybody is into, the CrimeCon convention, if you've heard about it and you thought, gee, I want to go, should I not? Hopefully this episode kind of sways you into going. It's so worth it. And to say it's a lot of fun is kind of weird to say about a true crime convention, but it really is the best way to describe it. There's so many people you meet, and we'll get through it all. But before I jump into that, so I am wearing the official CrimeCon 2024 shirt. I love t-shirts. I think I probably bought like 10 different t-shirts while I was there. I love t-shirts. I think they're super comfy and super awesome. And anytime, especially if there's like a creator or a podcaster that I'm really digging and they have a t-shirt line, I will always buy one because I will always support. So of course I was going to get a CrimeCon 2024 Nashville shirt. So that is the shirt that I am wearing right now. I know my hair is covering the CrimeCon words, but yeah, so I'm super excited to be repping this. Other than that, let's see who is here in the chat. Hey, Chris James. Hello. Good to see you, hun. Hey, Renee. Good to see you. I'm glad you've been looking forward to this. I have a shout out for you, so stay tuned. Hey, Clifford. James Watson. Hello. Capone. Gosh, dude, Jesus Christ. Fiddle. Hey, Fiddle. Good to see you. Mr. Jinx. Hello. Clifford, Danny, there's a movie coming out about the West Mesa murders here in Albuquerque. Oh, Clifford, message me with info on that for sure. Did you have someone with you? Me at CrimeCon? No, I just go solo. I mean, I would have loved if like another friend wanted to go, but no, I make friends everywhere I go. So no, I didn't have anybody go with me. So for CrimeCon 2025, they already announced the location and it's going to be in Denver. So of course, right away, I was just like, Liz, Beckham, who wants to go? But yeah, we'll see. But now I went solo and had a blast, which is actually what I would prefer, because then I'm not kind of tied down to anybody with the, what are you doing? I can just go and do as I please and have a good time. Hey, Richard, good to see you. Hey, Little Milky, I don't think you can. Although if you did, that would certainly be a crime. So you'd probably be in the best place to pull off something like that. I don't know what to say. I know that cityscape. Oh, gotcha, Renee. She bought a CrimeCon. She probably mugged someone for it. My bank account does certainly show that when I get to the books, it's so funny. Like the logic in my head. Instead of just doing one pass through and being like, I want that, and just buying it all at once, I'm like, let me just buy this 1 or 2 books. A couple hours later, I'll just add that. I'll just add one more. And at the end of the day, it's all the same, but it doesn't feel like I'm spending as much money when I do that. but thanks. Thank you. Hey, Kane, good to see you. Kane, there was, I thought of you. So at the convention center, it was cool because the convention center itself was huge. Like, and there's a hotel there and you can stay there. I did not stay there. I prefer Airbnbs personally, but there was a ton of different restaurants there, which made it actually really convenient for getting, breaks and refreshments, coffee, food, whatnot. Point being, there was a, what's it called? Cinnabon? We don't have a lot of that here, but like Cinnabon company. And they had a coffee drink. I forget what it was called, but it was like this dessert in a container, basically. And I tried their iced coffee the day before, and I was like, not digging it. But the other one, I'm like, you know what? Let me splurge. It's fine. And I'll get the other one. So good. So good. Yeah. So I did think of you. I was like, oh my God, I should have taken a picture of it. I'm like, Kane would love that. But hey, Todd, Clifford, Danny, I have warrants. Don't want to go near crime. You know what, Clifford? I don't know a damn thing. Hey, Tony L, good to see you. Denver is a fun town. I've never been to Colorado. I know, like, the chat amongst a lot of the people at CrimeCon were like, because I think it'll be in September next year, was, is it going to be cold? Is it going to be hot? What's the weather like in Denver? And I'm like, I have no clue. But yeah, that was some of the chatter, because usually it's in very warm places. And for all I know, Denver's warm in September. I don't know, but that was kind of people. I'm like, who cares what the weather's like? It's CrimeCon, just go. Yeah, you don't want to be tied down at crime. But you know what, James Watson, you're gonna get a star for that. It's pretty good. Let's see. Girl math. I could have bought 20 books, but only bought 10. Wow, I saved so much money. Oh man. So, cool. Gotcha. Good to know. Awesome. So, all right. And if anybody kind of comes in as the chat's going, I'll kind of have breaking points to kind of see. But I was actually at the airport yesterday and I made the Google Doc. So I'm just pulling it up. Here we go. With like all my notes so I wouldn't forget anything. If you guys have been following me on the Danny After Dark Instagram account, then you've already seen all of these photos. And I only took some of them for tonight's show. There were some, content creators, podcasters, kind of CrimeCon, what's the word I'm looking for? Like speakers, people that are very well respected and well distinguished in their own rights, and where I'd maybe run into them each day. And so each day I'd want to get a picture with them, different day, different outfit, you know how it goes. So instead of boring you guys with like 3 photos of me and the one person, I just kind of picked like which one I thought was the best one. But for all of them, go over to the Danny After Dark Instagram page and you'll see. Let's see. Denver can be warm or snowing. Okay, so it's basically like New England, where you could have 80 degrees or snowing. Good to know. So basically, like, don't pack until the day before you go. Or just bring clothes for winter and summer, basically. Let's see. Getting tied down at CrimeCon is once in a lifetime opportunity. Fiddle. Oh God, Fiddle. You know what, Fiddle, Fiddle will be back on my channel doing a collab that we've been talking about for what feels like 5 years now that he owes me. But you know what, Fiddle, if this is a way to get you to CrimeCon, if that's what you're into and you want to tag along and have a great convention with me, you do you, boo. You do you. James, Fiddle could have it made. The first date my pimp took me to was at a Cinnabon at the mall food. Oh, that's like kind of sweet, but kind of like, oh. Oh, man. All right. So the best way I think to kind of break this episode down so it kind of flows a little bit more cohesively is to talk about the panels that I went to, just kind of let you guys know that, the meet and greets that I went to, show you guys photos that I mentioned of, different people that I got to meet and so on and so forth. Show you the books that I got. I have a whole stack right here. Again, I bought a whole bunch of t-shirts. I didn't bring all of the t-shirts in here to show you because there's a lot, but some of them are very, typical CrimeCon type shirts. Some of them are just very cutesy. Again, different podcasters, influencers, if they have their own merch line, especially if I'm a big fan of their show, I will always support. And so I would kind of go up to their booth and introduce myself and be like, yes, I want one of your shirts, please. So yeah, so I guess for those, just follow me on, Instagram, and I'll tend to when I do wear them, I'll post it and be like, hey, repping my CrimeCon shirt from this year for so-and-so influencer type of thing. I'll give a little bit of miscellaneous notes that I had from CrimeCon and then just an overall recap. But that will be the gist. Shout outs. I have some shout outs to people. Some are good, some are bad, some are it is what it is. So shout out to, since she's already here, Renee. Shout out to my girl, Renee. Even though I was traveling, she kept me up to date the whole time on the Chad Daybell trial when he got his, when he was found guilty, when they did enforce, in fact, say, yeah, he's going to get the death penalty. She was right on top of it. I got off the plane, I get my phone off airplane mode, and there's Renee. I have my messages recapping. So thank you, Renee, for keeping me up to date, especially when I was in the midst of traveling and whatnot. So it is much, much appreciated. Shout out to Corey Novak. Corey was awesome in regards to, he knew the area, and he had messaged me some places, some recommendations on places to check out. If I was like, oh, hey, I'm thinking of doing this, it's kind of great to have somebody who says, oh, I know that area. One, so that if it's don't waste your time, instead, don't go there type of thing. It was very, very helpful. So shout out to Corey Novak for that. In regards to Liz, shout out to the Liz in regards to just dealing, as she does every day in life as my friend, dealing with a million messages, but CrimeCon messages oh my God, guess who I just met? Oh my God, or whatnot. And then her being, entertaining that, but then also being what books do you have did you get so that I can borrow them? That's what friendship is built on. So Liz will be borrowing these books. I'm pretty sure she'll borrow all of them, to be perfectly honest. So I laid them out in my Airbnb and took an overall photo. And I was like, here's all the books I got. I'm probably going to buy more tomorrow. Let me know what you want to read when I'm done. So shout out to Liz for that. Thank you, Renee. Thank you. Chad Daybell. Yeah, God. And one of the things that I messaged Renee was I got to meet one of the jurors from the Lori Vallow trial. So that juror was there at CrimeCon, and I was personally introduced, and I was just oh my God. And then I'm thinking oh my God, it's just interesting, especially for high profile cases. I didn't want to get too personal, why'd you vote this or that's not my place. We're just here to hang out and have a good time at a convention. So my first thought was, oh my God, I got to tell Renee. And then my second thought was, oh my God, Beckham's going to be mad at me because I didn't say, so tell me, juror. I don't want to dox, but tell me, juror, what impact did the storm have on your verdict? I'm like, oh, Beckham's going to be so mad at me for not asking. Oh man, but yeah. Let's see. Surprised Liz hasn't blocked your number like Paul does. No, because she wants to borrow my book. So she's getting something out of this, I assure you. And I did buy her some stuff while I was there. So no, friends take care of each other. Now, she's good. She's good. Oh, we are so going to get to that, Renee. Oh, Renee. Then I got a story for you too, and for everybody. Let me see. Okay, who wants to go with me the next crime? Oh, I don't know if you're making fun of me in that, Kane, but you know what? It's so much fun. Honestly, I don't care going and doing stuff like that by myself because you just meet so many people. Even when you're just standing in line for stuff, you just make conversation, and it's just, yeah, it's interesting. I have a blast, an absolute blast. Bring a jacket. Good to know. I know I'm jumping around a little bit. Oh, you looked up the dates. Todd, you are there. Should be nice weather, early September, different than late September. Good to know. Good to know. Thank you, Todd. That is helpful. Let's see. All right. And what did I miss? So shout out Beckham. I'll get to Beckham later, and Paul, I'll get to you later. Are they good shout outs? No, they are not. But nonetheless, we will get there. So first, so again, I didn't stay at the convention center. I'm not a hotel person, honestly. I prefer Airbnbs. I just think I like the privacy. I think you get way more bang for your buck, to be perfectly honest. You get more space, and it's, you know, on the one hand, you're paying, especially at a convention, you're paying for the convenience of being there, right? So that makes a lot of sense. What I've loved to be able to like drop stuff off at my room when I bought like way too much stuff, so I don't have to like carry it around all day at the convention. Sure, but it's not needed. And especially like with the craziness of the convention, it's like you get to just like leave the area and like decompress, which is much needed. So I stayed at a wonderful Airbnb. Couldn't say enough nice things about the place I stayed at. It was literally on the river, which was so cool. Like I walked out of the door where I stayed, and the river was right there. It was amazing. Also, the host that I had was super sweet and kind. So it was awesome. It was very spacious, you know, way more than I needed just for, you know, a trip, especially where I was out and about most of the time. But that itself just made it so much more relaxing when I came back to my space. I was like, all right, cool. In regards to, I got there on Thursday. The convention was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So the flight I took was very early Thursday morning, which means I arrived Thursday morning and I had all of that time. So I was able to check into my Airbnb early, which was amazing, and kind of unpack, take a nap, because I had to be up since like 2 a.m. that day. And I went down to Broadway just to kind of bar hop and check it out. And that was interesting. For those of you who are from there, you know, it's just like when they say it's like nonstop party from like 10 a.m. until 3 a.m., like they weren't joking. So it was like 3 p.m. and I'm just there. And it's like, you would think it was like a 1 a.m. Friday night in Boston club scene. It was just wild. It was so cool to people watch because, yeah, that's what I like. But yeah, I would just kind of go bar to bar, get a drink, check it out, just hang out, walk up and down the street, and just, yeah, it was really, really cool. So I got to do that. That was on Thursday. Oh, Paul, I'm glad you're here for when I rip you apart. So stay tuned. Let's see. Hey, K-Dog. Who else did I miss? Hey, Bill. Good to see you, hon. Whoa. Anyway, so yeah, so that was Broadway. And it's so funny because like all you hear are girls screaming, woo, like the whole time. The whole time. Party buses and all that. And I'm used to like the party buses from Boston. It was just, there just seemed to be a lot more of them. So it was loud, but it was cool. And every bar had a live musician there, like a live band. So it's like every different place. It was just so cool. And you don't pay a cover, which was really freaking cool because where I am in Boston, you're paying like 10, 20 bucks just to get into a place. There you can just free walk in anywhere. So that was kind of interesting and new for me. The drinks were pricey, but they were worth it. Hey, Corey, I gave you a shout out earlier, hon, so make sure you go back and check it out. Hey, Barb, good to see you. Oh, Jesus Christ. So, Renee, are you aware of conspiracy? Oh, okay, not sure what that conversation is, but that's okay. That's okay. So that was my Thursday. This is a good a time as ever, I guess, to bash Paul. So let me share screen. So, all right, y'all. So, you know, I'm there in Nashville. Of course, I'm like, you know, texting my people. And I'm like, hey, this is, you know, here, this is what I'm doing. This is awesome. I got to do this, got to do this. And generally, people are supportive. And then there's Paul. So being the musician that he presents himself as, I'll put it that way, I thought, wow, he would love the Nashville scene, like the Broadway scene, all these different bands. And I was at the Miranda Lambert restaurant and bar, and there was a who did I messaged a few of you guys while I was there. What was it, a Creed cover band, or they were playing just Creed nonstop for a while, and I was like, this is not enjoyable. This is not enjoyable, but I digress. Anyway, so Paul, being the supportive person that he was, instead of being like, oh my God, Danny, I'm so glad you're having a great time there. Good for you. No. He decides to be like, oh my God, Nashville is lost on you just because I'm not into music like he is. Paul, screw you. So while I'm at the convention here, I turn a corner and I'm like, oh my God, I thought that was Paul. I thought Paul flew out for CrimeCon. No. Instead, what I see is an ass playing a guitar. Again, easy to be confused with Paulcast, right? Yeah, so that's that. That's my part there. But yeah, I was like, Paul, what the hell? Nashville's lost on me. Thanks, pal. Thanks. Much appreciated. But hey, mermaid, right? He's such a jerk. Let's see. Nickelback cover band. Oh my God. I would have probably just gotten a flight and went home if they had a Nickelback cover band. My God. Oh my gosh, Renee, people are so sweet. So sweet. Paul's a musician. He owns a guitar. Yeah. Thank you, Corey. Let's see. I'm trying to keep an eye on if there's anybody that I missed coming into the chat. Hey, Sam Smith, good to see you. Chicks and ass playing a guitar. Fiddle, you know I'm right. You know I'm right. And shout out to Phil, too. There'd be like a few moments where I'm like, oh my God. And I just messaged him like, Fiddle! Or insert real name. I don't like to dox, but anyway. So yeah, that was that. So all right, back to the good stuff. So panels. So if anybody pulls up the CrimeCon panels, hey PJ, good to see you, hon. There's a lot that is offered. Oh my, Corey, I will time you out. I will time you out. So yeah, there's about 5 panels always going on at once, and each of them are about an hour and a half approximately. So there's so much to choose from. And there's always like you're running from ballroom 1 to ballroom 2 or to the different areas depending on which ones you want to go to. So there's so many, and sometimes there'll be like multiple at the same time and you're like, oh my God, what do I do? Life choices, right? So with that being said too, a lot of the meet and greets are kind of sprinkled within that. And if you want to get to do a meet and greet, you're standing in line probably 1.5, sometimes 2 hours before just to be able to meet that person. So with that being said, now you're forgoing one of the panels that are going on before because you're waiting in line to meet one of the people for either a book signing or a meet and greet. So you kind of got to weigh those options there. But the panels that I went to, the ones that personally interested me, the first one I went to was on Friday. It was called Law and Crime Sidebar. Will new testing prove Scott Peterson is innocent? And that was by Anjanette Levy and Jesse Weber. So that was really, really cool. And there was some information that they had kind of said that came out just this past week about what the judge is going to be allowing for retesting for DNA. Because again, the LA Innocence Project is assisting Scott Peterson. So that was very interesting to kind of hear their take on that. So that was an amazing one to go to. And again, Jesse Weber, come on. Let's see. Okay, you guys seem to like going off on Paul right now, and I'm living for it. So yeah, continue, please. So the one after that I went to was Making a Way in the Wilderness, A Daughter's Path to Navigating the True Crime World, which was Kerry Rawson as well as Renee Williams, who was kind of interviewing Kerry. So for those of you who don't know, Kerry Rawson, she is an author, an advocate, and what most people know her as, even though she's amazing and accomplished in her own right, is she is Dennis Rader's daughter. So the BTK serial killer's daughter. And her speech. I'd seen hers last year at CrimeCon. Obviously, a lot has happened since. So she's been doing a lot more work in her advocacy since I last saw her. And her story in regards to what has happened since, something she can't say. Obviously, she's working with law enforcement, and something she could. And one of the things that just really, really stuck with me was that she said when I was talking to some people in a line for a meet and greet who also went to that same panel, I was like, did I interpret this the right way? And they're like, yeah, that's how we took it too. So again, being from kind of in the South where, you keep your, the family stuff, anything bad, you keep it under wrap. What happens in the household stays in the household type of thing. So in regards to talking about what happened with, Dennis Rader, their family, Carrie, her brother, her mother, didn't talk about it for a long, long time. And then years later, Carrie spoke to the media. She now has a book out and is doing so much advocacy work. That's her path. That's her way to heal. That's her way to help others, because there's no guidebook for being, because she's still a victim. All of the family members are a victim in their own right, just because, they're not treated like that because, oh, well, you're the daughter of a serial killer. And it's like, well, no, she's a victim just as much. So working with therapists, seeing what all these memories that are resurfacing, a lot of trauma she has suffered that she had suppressed and didn't even realize. But also she made the comment that it seems like her own family's no longer speaking to her because they were mad that she kind of, again, opened up what was a family matter to the public. And that's that was really sad to hear. Really, really sad to hear. So that was like my takeaway from that. And I was just like, that friggin' sucks. Because if this is her path and her way to deal with this, that's okay. And if her family members choose to just keep quiet and move on the way that's okay too. That sucks. But nonetheless, that was a really great panel to listen to. Because again, I saw her last year at CrimeCon. This one was great as well. Really, really great. All right, I'm just trying to keep an eye on the chat with you guys. I don't want to miss anything okay. All right. Another one I went to on Friday was Nancy Grace Presents Till Death Do Us Part, The Epidemic of Love Gone Wrong. And that was a great presentation as well. Very typical Nancy Grace style. For those of you who know her, you either love her or hate her. But this was a really great panel in regards to a lot of cases that are currently happening or high profile ones that, were from years ago, decades ago. But it's nonetheless a tale that just keeps happening over and over and over again. And yeah, Nancy Grace is very entertaining. Again, I know some people love her, some people hate her, but yeah, anytime she does a panel, I'm like, I want to sit in on this. So, and she knows how to work a crowd. She absolutely does. So that got to meet Carrie in Austin. That's awesome. That is awesome, PJ. I'm sure. I mean, she was nothing but kind and sweet to me when I met her last year. And then I also got to meet her again this year. She was amazing. And I'm sure she was amazing with you too. But that's cool that you got to meet her as well. Nancy Grace is the Paulcast fave. Yeah. Oh my. If Paul and Nancy Grace had to go at it, my money would be on Nancy Grace, to be perfectly honest. So okay, that was Friday. So Saturday, what I went to was, and I went to quite a bit more on Saturday, I went to the 911 Experience Nashville edition from Brandon Hall, who does the podcast Music City 911. Brandon is amazing. I went to his, he did another similar presentation last year at CrimeCon, but this one was Nashville edition. So I went to that last year, was like, oh my God, I have to support Brandon and go this year. And I was able to meet Brandon last year at at one of the bars. It was like kind of like a hangout after one night at CrimeCon. And he was so nice, so nice. So of course, when I saw he was going to be here, because I knew he wasn't from Nashville because he'd said that last year, I was like, all right, got to make sure I make my way over to him. So his presentation was great. Again, he is a 911 operator, has been for, I believe he said it was like, I want to say 23 years. I could be wrong, but it was something like that. It's been a significant amount of time. And he gave a really great presentation, again, kind of Nashville based, where, I mean, this is his home. So that was a really cool thing. And he did a great balance of like the content and then kind of putting in a little bit of humor too, and where it was appropriate. So that was awesome. But again, shout out to Brandon Hall, Music City 911. Great podcast, y'all. Please check it out. The other one I went to after that, oh my God, talk about legends in one room. Bryant in Baden, Justice Served, an intimate conversation about crime, love, and death with special guest Dr. Michael Baden. So that had, oh my God, Michael Bryant being kind of like the host of it, with Dr. Michael Baden and Linda Kenny Baden. My God, Linda Kenny Baden and Michael Baden, like I'm in awe that I was in the same room as them. And again, if you are not familiar with Michael Baden, just do a quick Google. I have tons of his books. I know I've talked about them on multiple episodes. He has paved the way, and he is so well known for the field that he is in. He has done, oh my God, thousands and thousands of autopsies, and he's been a part of some really well-known ones and worked on some well-known cases too. And he's taken a lot of feet in his career because he's just I give the science. I'm not here to, if the police are saying this one thing, but the evidence says otherwise, this is what the evidence says. And he's suffered for that in his career, but nonetheless, he's fought and just got to where he's so well respected. And again, he's just a legend to me, an absolute legend. So to be able to, again, be in the same room as him was just amazing. I did go to his presentation last year at CrimeCon, and I was floored that he focused on Jeffrey Epstein and Jeffrey's suicide. That was amazing. So this year it was a little bit more of kind of how he got into what he was doing, kind of the setbacks that he had in regards to being honest and following the science, and I say the government, but, law enforcement, the DA not agreeing with what he's saying, and how that cost him to be demoted and so much, but then other opportunities that opened up in his career because of the work he did. So he talked a lot about that. He did talk a little bit again about Jeffrey Epstein. What else did he talk about? There's a few other well-known cases that he kind of quickly talked about. But I could have honestly sat in a room and just listened to him talk all day if I could. He's just a wealth of knowledge, and I just cannot get enough. So that was probably one of my favorite panels that I got to sit on, to be perfectly honest. An autopsy legend. Yes, Sam Smith, absolutely. That is so well said. Let's see, just checking where you guys are in the chat. Oh gosh, that's so funny. Gotta run. Bye, Clifford. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping in, hon. Sorry, James. Sorry, not sorry. But okay, the other one I went to, switching gears completely, was Searching for Truth, John Ramsey's Fight for Answers. And that was hosted by Paula Woodward. And again, John Ramsey was there. And I was really excited to be there and sit in on that because John was very open, and it was very interesting to hear his take on how he's been pushing the police department, who will not release the evidence. For years, he's been, submitted to the FBI or, all these other labs, how DNA and processing DNA has evolved so much since Jean Bonnet was murdered. There's so much more now that they can do with testing. It's comes, there's so many options. The police department will not release the DNA. Last year at CrimeCon, they did a petition. I think they got like 30,000 signatures. and they still, like, they will not release the DNA. And they went through a lot of conversation about kind of why that might be. And one of the excuses that the police department's giving is, oh, well, there's really not much of an advancement in DNA technology. And it's like, are you kidding me? Like, really? Another heartbreaking comment was one that he had heard, that basically the police department are basically saying they're just waiting for John Ramsey to die. They're just waiting for him to die. And I don't know what their thought is on that. Maybe, oh, well, then we can stop being pressured. Well, no, JonBenet has a brother. She has other family. Do you not think people are going to still care what happened? Just because John Ramsey's very outspoken. And I know there's a whole bunch of theories, and that's one of the things they talked about too, was how him and his family were put under a microscope at that time, how it was handled, from the crime scene, and how it was mishandled, if you will. But that was just so sad to hear that. It was so, so sad to hear that. But John Ramsey, he's such a very interesting guy. He had a great sense of humor, and he's like, well, the joke's on them, because my mother, I think, was it his mother and his grandmother, or people in his family, I guess, have lived to be 100 years old. So he's like, joke's on them. I got another 20 years. But yeah, it was a very sad panel, but one that was still very worthwhile. And I know the JonBenet case is one that me and Mr. Beckham kind of off air talk about quite a bit, because we both have very differing theories on it. So, and I haven't had a chance to give him a recap about how this particular panel went. But that was one where I was like, all right, had Beckham come to CrimeCon, he would have really liked that one. So you got to go back to Tennessee and visit the Crime Museum. You'd love it. Oh, I'm sure. I know. I didn't get a chance to do a lot of touristy stuff, unfortunately. So the next presentation or panel that I went to on Saturday was Sadism, Serial Killers, and Bachelor #1. That was Matt Murphy looks back at his conviction of Rodney Alcala. So that, again, was a case, Rodney Alcala, that I'd covered, maybe a year ago, if not more. I can't even remember. It's been so long. But I did cover that case. So to hear Matt Murphy, who actually was the one to get the conviction on Rodney Alcala, that was very cool, because he got to show a lot of behind the scenes in regards to how the prosecution worked in this. Again, photos that were never, seen to the public, and he got to show those. You get a very different view on the case when you hear a bit more of a personal case. And think about it, when Rodney Alcala was tried, the media was not the way it is now. So to kind of go back and hear his take on it and how he processed it as a prosecutor was just very, very cool. So that was really worth going to, and I'm really glad I did. You guys are going off on your theories about JonBenet. Feel free to do so. The other one I went to a lot on Saturday. The last one I went to on Saturday, panel-wise, was Unraveling Dateline Mysteries with Josh Mankiewicz. That was really cool. And Josh Mankiewicz, oh my God, I actually got to meet him on the first day. I'll get to the pictures for that later, but what a funny guy. Like, so funny. I think I laughed as most of the audience did, like most of the time during his presentation. And when I say his presentation, he was pretty spot on, where it was just like, okay, I'm invited to speak at CrimeCon. Not to say he just like did it on a whim, but it kind of had that vibe, and he joked that it was just like, yeah, we'll see where this goes. But it was so good. It was so good and so funny, and just his stories about working with Dateline for as long as, he has. That was a really kind of cool way to end Saturday night presentation and panel wise. Hey, Steph, good to see you. No. You are, girl, whenever you get here, you're good. You are good. So that was the presentations I went to on Saturday. Sunday, I only went to 2 because, again, kind of sprinkled throughout the time there were meet and greets and book signings that I wanted to do. So I kind of, as I mentioned earlier, you got to wait like hours in advance. So I had to do that. So Sunday, what I went to, the first panel I went to was To Tell the Truth, the Making of a Wrongful Conviction. And that was hosted by Matt Murphy. And it also had Nikki Jackson and Timmy Donald. And for those who don't know, look him up. Timmy Donald, again, a man that was wrongfully convicted. He spent, I believe it was 24 years in prison for a crime that he did not do. There was evidence he did not do it. He had a rock solid alibi that the prosecution just pushed to the side. The victims themselves said, I don't think that's not the guy. That's not the guy. But the prosecution wanted a conviction, and they got one. And Nikki Jackson, she steps in this in regards to all the work that she's done now. She's a professor, PhD, and she kind of talks about her journey of kind of hearing, these people who are wrongly convicted, and then let's say it does get overturned. Some of the times they're still sitting in jail for several years before they get out. And it's like, well, why? And then they get out and now they can't get a job because they have this record. And it's like, well, wait a minute. They were found to be innocent, but now they can't get a job because it just, the whole system is just insane. So the work she's done, my God, the two of them, Timmy Donald, I was just beyond floored with his story and his journey. And then Nikki Jackson just really trying to make change. And that was a really great panel to sit in on. I wasn't sure what to expect of it, to be honest. I saw the headline for it and I was like, that sounds interesting. And I'm really glad I went because I learned so much about how these wrongful convictions happen. And unfortunately, they happen. Yeah, Chris James, 100%. She had a PowerPoint slide about statistics, Nikki did, of why these kind of wrongful convictions happen. And it was alarming. And it's just, I can't believe this. And especially in this day and age, you would think, I have a rock solid alibi. I'm at work. All my coworkers and my boss are saying, yeah, he was here the whole time. He wasn't even in the area. Doesn't matter. The own victims are saying, that wasn't him. He didn't do this crime to me. Didn't matter. Crazy. Let's see. Hey, car guy. Good to see you, hon. All right. Just making sure I'm caught up in the chat. All right. The last panel that I went to on Sunday, last day of CrimeCon, was Deciphering the Criminal Mind, From Profiling to Artificial Intelligence with Dr. Ann Burgess. And it was kind of hosted, if you will, by Stephen Constantine. Ann Burgess, amazing, a woman in her own right. I actually got to meet her a few weeks ago at a book tour for Joel Waldman from Surviving the Survivor podcast. And yeah, when I saw Ann was on the schedule for CrimeCon, I'm like, I am going to her presentation because anything this woman says, I'm right there. She was leading the pack in profiling with some other, big, well-known, pioneers, to be honest, in the FBI to make profiling what it was. It didn't exist. None of this of what we know now and, all these TV shows, none of that existed before these people. Dr. Ann Burgess is one of them. So, and she is, oh my God, she is with it. She is smart. She is such a great host for a panel. And she had an amazing PowerPoint slide and just really started back at the beginning with the FBI and kind of who was in charge and how it started and what paths it kind of went to along the way. And then when she was brought in, kind of her role in this, and she went through that history, went through some well-known cases that she was able to work, again, back in the day where this wasn't a thing. And it was really cool that she would kind of ask us as the audience, as she's kind of giving these kind of little synopses of different cases that she worked back then of like, here's what you're being presented, what sticks out to you and why. So good. So good. I hope she's at CrimeCon again next year. I really do, because she should be there every single year. And she was actually the very, very last panel of the day, or one of them, I should say, on that Sunday, and still drew a great crowd. It's the end of the day, end of a convention. Sometimes people kind of trickle out early. They have early flights. They need to leave. No, Dr. Ann Burgess knows how to fill a room, and she always will. So, yeah. That is that for the presentations and panels that I went to. So I'm just kind of scrolling the chat, see where you guys are. Okay. So, do you know where CrimeCon will be? Yes, Steph. They announced it is going to be in Denver, and it's going to be, I believe it's the first weekend in September. They announced it there this year. That's kind of their theme. So while I was there last year, it was CrimeCon Orlando. They announced it was going to be in Nashville. So they kind of always announce it there, where it will be the following year. And then you can register in advance and book your passes for like a huge discount if you do it while you're there. I believe I saw on the CrimeCon Facebook page that they're going to be making the general public passes for next year's CrimeCon. I think they said it's going to go on sale June 10th or 11th. I was hoping you didn't notice that. Thanks, Corey. Thanks. Appreciate it. How did you like Nashville? I loved it. Car guy, I loved it. And I see you don't have a wrench, and that is unacceptable. So let me just pull up YouTube now for a quick second and give you one kind of while I do the. Okay, just making sure that my YouTube thing is muted. Okay, yeah, CrimeCon, it was great. Nashville was great. In regards, it was really, really warm, warmer than what I am kind of used to right now weather-wise in Boston. So I know on Sunday, I tried to go back down to Broadway and just kind of hang out on my last day. And it was humid and it just like fatigue and a whole bunch of that. I was just like, nah, this ain't gonna work. This ain't gonna work. Which is unfortunate because it was my last night, but Nashville was awesome. People are so kind. And yeah, it was funny because I'd be talking to people. Sorry, car guy, I'm just trying to give you your wrench. And there'd be some people that are like, oh, you're from Boston. I can tell by your accent. And I'm like, I don't have a Boston accent. Like, I don't know what to tell you. But then also when people like, oh, you're from Boston, the Karen Reed trial. So that was funny. All right, car guy, you should have a wrench now. You should be all set, hon. Yep, perfect. There you go. We hit 104. That's insane. That's insane. That would be awesome if you went. You would love it. You would love it. It's just one of those things where I really feel like there's something for everybody at CrimeCon because, for example, if like Liz, my friend Liz, she is, and I mean this with the utmost respect, she's like really into genealogy and DNA and that type of thing. Like, I mean, the genealogy, how that has evolved to kind of help solve crimes now, like she is loving that. So like any presentations of stuff like that happened at CrimeCon, I'm like, oh my God, like Liz would love that. It would be interesting for me to sit in, yeah. But if there's like other ones, like Ann Burgess doing one on profiling, like that's where I'm going to go. So there's just so much. There's so much. But with that being said, it's a bit pricey. CrimeCon is a bit pricey. There's like different tiers of badges you can get. I think for what they offer, excuse me, I think it's worth it. I really do. But even with messaging with Beckham, when he's like, what? It costs this? I'm like, but think of what you're getting. So yeah, no, I think it's worth it. Okay. Oh my God, that's so funny. You know what, James, you're going to get another star for that. That's hilarious. Let's see. All right. So in regards to the meet and greet, so I did 3 meet and greet / book signings. I'm loving the Paul bashing. You're going to get a star too, Fiddle. So I went to 3 of them. And again, you have to stand in line so early, at least 1.5 hours, sometimes 2 hours in advance. And so I got to meet one person each day just because, I mean, there were so many different meet and greets and book signings. But for me, the ones that I really wanted to do, and luckily I got to do all of them. I do have pictures. I will show you. Is on Friday night, I got to meet Nancy Grace. Again, I'd met her last year at CrimeCon, but I wanted to meet her again. Saturday, I got to meet John Walsh. That was, oh my God, amazing, amazing. I grew up watching America's Most Wanted, and the man has not aged. The man has not aged. Whatever DNA he possesses, good for him. But he was so kind, so generous, like made it a point for each person to be like, what's your name? Where are you visiting from? How are you enjoying the convention? Like, so nice. And then on Sunday, I got to meet Catherine Ramsland for her book signing. She is, oh my God, so many books, a wealth of knowledge. So I do have her book that I got signed. So I'll tell you guys about that as that goes. Is Danny one of those women who was infatuated with serial killers? Infatuated? No. So Sam, okay, I went into school for psychology, right? So obviously I'm fascinated with the mind and how it works. Studying criminals and kind of how their mind works, what traits they have similar to others who commit offenses versus the general population that doesn't, so on and so forth. Those are great studies, fascinating studies. But for me, I get really wanting to focus on when there is an offender, how society around them reacts and handles it. And not just the local community, it could be the state, it could be the whole country, it could be worldwide, depending on how big a case gets. That type of thing fascinates me because it's not always how we think it will be. And I could study that until the end of time. That's what I find fascinating in cases, is again, how society reacts to that. Oh, Paul's back. Jesus Christ. It's always funner when we're bashing Paul and he's not here, but it is what it is. She got a letter back from Richard Ramirez, an official Night Stalker. Who did Lil Milky? I think I missed who you were referring to. Oh, Catherine Ramsland. Sorry. What do you mean we find out? That's public knowledge, K-Dog. Thank you. Are you nature or nurture? David Ward coming in hot. Both. And I know, and I'm not saying that as a cop-out. I think under the perfect storm of conditions, they both have to be at play. I think the degree to which each plays in it could be varying. I don't think it has to be like a 50% this and 50% that. I think it really depends, but in some way, shape, or form, one of them always has to be impacted for the other. It just has to be the perfect storm. It really does. I think even if, for example, even if nurture plays the littlest part, nature could be right there, setting them up for that path, if you will. But they haven't crossed that line yet. And all it might take is that one little spark from the what example did I use? Whichever, you know what I'm saying? There just needs to be that one little spark on that other side to kickstart it. Now, what has been just an imagination is now actually being acted out. I think that's how I would answer that question. So. I could write a book on nature versus Renee. You could write 50 books on life and they would be all bestsellers. Let's just be honest. Don't limit yourself to just one topic. Yeah, Paul. Oh God, I must be sick. I agree with Paul. Yeah. All right. So I went over that. Let me show you guys. I'll do books first. show you guys the books I got, then show you guys photos, and then do a little bit of a recap. So, and these books are in no particular order. The first book I got was John Walsh's Tears of Rage, From a Grieving Father to Crusader for Justice, the untold story of the Adam Walsh case. So that was the first book that I got, because I actually haven't read it. It's been out forever and I have not read it. So I snagged that while I was there. The second book, Ann Burgess, is A Killer by Design, Murderers, Mind Hunters, and My Quest to Decipher the Criminal Mind. Cannot wait to read this. This is probably the book I'm most excited to read, to be perfectly honest. So very excited for that. The next book that I got, and this I knew nothing about, hadn't heard of it. I saw it at the CrimeCon bookstore, and I was like, I think this was one of the first books I bought. So I was like, what is this? Cheating Death by Living a Lie, Inside the Explosive World of ATF's Undercover Agents and How We Changed the Game. Rat Snakes by Vincent Cefalu. I'm not sure how that name is pronounced. My apologies, but this looks so interesting. So I can't wait to read that. And this is a pretty thick book. So looking forward to that. This book, this was one of the CrimeCon, what's the word I'm looking for? They had their own booth over on the Creator Row. And this was one where I actually had messaged Corey Novak, because I know me and him have talked about this case quite a bit. So the author was there. So I did get the author to sign my book. And it is A Harvest of Innocence, The Untold Story of the West Memphis 3 Murder Case by Dan, and I'm probably going to butcher the last name, Dan Stidham and Tom McCarthy. And yes, I did get him to sign the book to Danny. It was great to meet you at CrimeCon in Nashville. I hope you enjoyed the book. So I'm very excited to read this book on the case. So yes, West Memphis 3. This book, I know a lot of you guys know this book. I don't have this book. The author was there and selling copies and signing it. And y'all know, oh God, I just can't stop buying books. It's just insane. I cannot stop buying books. So I was like, you know what? The author's here. I'll buy it. Why not? So it's Charles Manson Behind Bars, The Crazy Antics and Amazing Revelations of America's Icon of Evil by Dr. Mark Hewitt and Guillermo Mendes. So again, Mark Hewitt was there, signed the book for me, and yeah, we'll go from there. I've not read this book. I've heard a lot about it being, again, over on the Paulcast Manson Saga discussion panel, because I know a lot of you guys have read this book. I haven't yet, and I was like, you know what? I'll pick it up and see what I think of it. God, I'm just like, I have a pile of books now that's all over the floor for when I'm done. This book, so Mind Hunter, with a new introduction by the authors inside the FBI's elite serial crime unit, serial crime unit by John Douglas. I have not read this book yet. I've heard a lot of great things about it, but again, it was at the CrimeCon bookstore, so I was like, yes, you're coming home with me. So got that. I'll save that one for the end. This one, and this was for Catherine Ramsland. Again, I stood in line for the meet and greet for her book signing, and it is her newest book, The Serial Killer's Apprentice, the true story of how Houston's deadliest murderer turned a kid into a killing machine. And I did get Catherine to sign my book. I'm sure it's Danny and Joy. So I've actually heard about this case because she has been doing a lot of interviews on podcasts about this book that was going to be coming out. So I'm familiar with the case in regards to like the bit of a recap she's done about the case, but I'm really looking forward to learning a whole hell of a lot more because of this. Honestly, even if she wasn't there doing the meet and greets, in the book signings, I was going to buy this book anyway, but it just worked out that she was there. So I got to purchase it from her. So very excited to read that. And I'm like, honestly, meeting her, I said to her, I was like, You are a legend. It is an honor to meet you. You are so just a staple in the true crime community. She's just so knowledgeable. I mean, any serial killer or true crime documentary most likely has Catherine Ramsland in it. So this book, oh God, Paul, are you here? Beckham, are you here? Just, this was, God. James Watson, I hope you heard. There was oh God, this book, I took a picture and I messaged to a few people and I was like, wow. I'm like, you know what? If it's still there on Sunday, it was meant to be. And it was, when I say that, this book was on somebody from the creator row area, again, where you have your own table. Some of the tables are just, local people who bring a variety of true crime books and just sell it. So this was kind of that case. Paul, you know where I'm going with this. So I was like, oh my God, this could be, for those of you who know, for the Manson case, when I bought that Columbo Manson book on Amazon for $7, it's like, you know what you're getting when you buy it. Like, this is going to be a shit show and it's going to be worth every penny that book cost me. When I saw that, I was like, when I saw this book, I'm like, oh my God, this is like the same vibes. But I had to get it. The Manson Family on Film and Television by Ann Cooper. And I have to read the back for you guys. For half a century, the Manson family has captured the public imagination, the lurid, inexplicable violence in a glamorous Hollywood setting, the bizarre and lengthy trials, and Charles Manson's strange charisma and willingness to embrace the role of evil icon. For years, the story has been documented, dramatized, and lampooned in dozens of films and television programs. The comprehensive study examines the various on-screen portrayals from factual accounts based on prosecutor Vincent Bugliosi's true crime classic Helter Skelter to primetime TV dramas to claymation, spoof, and even hardcore porn. Well, I don't... Since the book was still there on Sunday, I got a discount. I was just like, when I read, I'm like, I can't believe this is real. I can't believe this is real. And it was funny because when the woman working the booth, she was so nice, like clear Southern accent, like very respectful woman, a ton of variety of books. And on Sunday, I was like, I've been walking by this booth and I keep eyeing that book and I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. And oh my God, bless her. But she was just like, oh, that is such a good book if you're wanting to get into the case. I was like, okay. Oh, I can't wait to read this. This is one of those books where you're like, yeah, I know what I'm buying here. This is going to be quite a read. So yeah, it was one of those things where I took a screenshot and I sent it to Paul and Beckham and I was like, oh my God. Anyway, oh God. So that's it for books. In regards to, so I just have to give a shout out to Cheryl McCullum from Zone 7 Podcast. Cheryl McCullum is amazing. She's so nice and sweet. I met her last year at CrimeCon. She was going to be here this year. And of course, I got to meet up with my girl. Love her, love her. So she had made tote bags for her podcast, Zone 7, and she was signing them. So, of course, I was like, Cheryl, I need one. And so she signed it, Danny, let's investigate, which is very cool. So shout out to Cheryl McCullum. Love her. Zone 7 podcast. So good. So, all right. I know I got pictures, lots of pictures to show y'all, but I just want to catch up on the chat and see where you guys are. I know I missed you guys are talking about a lot about books and stuff. John Root Walsh used an old picture. That's just an old book. It's like under the pile. Sorry, I can't grab it now. That's an older book, Renee, to be fair. Yes, because the West Memphis 3. Okay, seeing what you guys are talking about. I've read that book. It's what book, Paul? What book are you referring to? I know I'm a little behind. Is this an updated one? I've read all their books. Excellent. John Douglas is the man. Yep. How in the hell did you get all of those home? Oh, God. My carry-on was heavy. Yeah, it's just, it is what it is. Kane, I'm right there with you. I have the Encyclopedia of Serial Killers. I do too. Yeah. I do mostly audiobooks. Yeah, I know I'm still old. I'm old school. I have to have like the actual book. Danny, I'm so jealous. Well, stay tuned because I'm going to read it. I will never review a bad book. I'm not that person to like slam an author if they've put work. So with that being said, I'm really behind in books I want to. I mean, like some of those go back to CrimeCon last year. I'll put it that way. They've been read. I just haven't got to them yet. But like, so for example, this Manson book, am I going to do a review on it? No, but I'm so excited to read it. So, you know. Hi, Danny. Not another book. Hi, Tony. Good to see you too. Let's see. Hey, Virginia Wolf. Good to see you, hun. Tote bag, aka murder tool bag. I cannot confirm or deny. All right. So let me pull up photos. I already showed you guys the picture of Paulcast from there. An ass with a guitar. That's like one of my proud moments here. All right, so let's go. Share. All right, so in no particular order, it's just the way I downloaded stuff. So this is me on Broadway on Thursday night. Again, I did a bunch of bar hopping. This is me outside of Miranda Lambert's Casa Rosa Cantina, and I loved it there. I loved the vibe. It was very pink. So I thought that was super cool. This is me and Kerry Rawson. I just actually day one when I was arriving there, I just walked right by her. So I asked her for a quick photo and she was actually with a film crew. I totally missed the film crew. I was just like, oh my God, it's Kerry Rawson. And they were following her and filming her for, I believe she said a documentary that she's working on. So love Kerry Rawson. That is Dave Mack. If you guys listen to any Nancy Grace podcast, or especially Body Bags with Joseph Scott Morgan, Dave Mack is the guy. He is on every episode. Love him. So nice. I got to meet him last year and was glad I got to meet him again this year. He is the true crime guy. Like he's the one that will research all of these cases and then, work with Nancy Grace or Joseph Scott Morgan for the episodes, but he researches everything. So he is a wealth of knowledge, that man. So that man right there, for those of you who don't know, let me give a little bit of background. So I think I'm just pulling up to see if the photo, the one right after is who introduced me. I don't think it is. Dang it. That's right. So I was at the booth for Joel Walbin's Surviving the Survivor podcast. Again, I met Joel back last year at CrimeCon and then got to meet him when he did his book tour just a few weeks ago, the one where Ian Burgess was at. So went up to Joel, was like, hey, long time no see. Just saw you like 2 weeks ago type of thing, right? And while I was there, he was just like, oh, let me introduce you. And his wife, actually, Joel's wife introduced me. So this is retired FBI agent Scott Duffy. And he was just at Joel's booth almost the entire time at CrimeCon. I saw him roaming around here and there, but he was pretty much there at the Surviving the Survivor podcast. And I was just like, holy shit. So I got to get my picture with him, which was awesome. And he was so nice. So nice. Yeah, I can kind of see the Surviving the Survivor booth cloth right there on my left. Yeah, nope, Surviving the Survivor. All right. Again, these are in no particular order. So this is Mike and Gibby from True Crime All the Time podcast. Love these guys. They are amazing. I've been listening to this podcast for years. They did a meetup on Saturday night. I was just exhausted. I wanted to go, but it's one of those things where like you're go. You get back to your place, like your body starts to unwind, and then it's like, no, you're out. Unfortunately, that was me on Saturday night. But so I missed their meet and greet, but they told me a bunch of stories the next day when I ran into them on Sunday. I was like, how was last night? And Gibby was like, let me tell you. So that was cool. Gibby, by the way, shout out to Gibby. So, okay. The booth that was next to Gibby, his transition, and I told him I was going to say this on the show. His way of, I'm all for networking. I think, especially at a convention like this. So the woman in the booth next to him, an author, had their own book that he thought I might be interested in. So instead of just saying, oh, hey, Danny, have you met so-and-so? And so on and so forth. Gibby's just like, Danny, do you read? Of course I read. I'm a self-proclaimed book nerd. And then I was just like, wait, what? And he's like, I didn't mean that. And it came off as offensive. And he's like, I didn't mean it like that. And I know he didn't, but it was so funny. And I was just like, do I read? And then I was joking with the woman, because obviously I was going to go over and talk to her and learn more about her book. But I was just like, what the hell kind of a way to represent, to get people over to you is that? Hey, do you read? Go over there. It was so funny. But I was like, Gibby, what the heck, man? So this is Bob Motta and his beautiful wife from Defense Diaries. So that's an amazing podcast too. Bob Motta is an amazing and well-respected, successful in his own right defense attorney. For those of you who don't know, if you haven't listened to the podcast, so Bob's father was actually one of the defense attorneys for John Wayne Gacy. So the first season of the podcast is the Gacy tapes that Bob's father had from working with John Gacy. And he plays a lot of the tapes on the podcast and kind of relooks at the case with kind of a fresh set of eyes now, so many years later. It's an amazing podcast, and Bob is so nice. So nice. So yeah, check out that podcast if you haven't. This is Annie Elise. I was so looking forward to meeting her. She has multiple podcasts. The one I most know her for is 10 to Life. She is, look at her. She's stunning. And every single day she had the most perfectly polished and gorgeous outfits. And I was just like, I just got a picture with you yesterday, but I want to get another one because you just look absolutely stunning today. So I have 3 different photos from her for the 3 different days of CrimeCon. But yeah, she's someone who during the pandemic started a channel, and it just grew, and she's just so successful and so nice and sweet. And yeah, she was one of, I mentioned, creators who kind of have their own merch. And so I did buy some of her merch too, because I was just like, I love what you do. Big fan. I will always support. So you actually can see on the ground, my little baggie of, it's clearly early in the day because it's not full, but yeah, I was very excited to meet her. True Crime Garage, Nick and the Captain, they have been in this game for years. I have Nick's book. He wrote it on the Delphi murders, and his book is great. I bought it last year at CrimeCon, and yeah, I wish they were selling it there again this year. And I'm like, oh, should I buy another copy and have him sign it? And I was like, oh, no, I don't need to go home with double the amount of books. But I did tell him, I was like, I've read your book. It is so well written. And they're super nice. They had a line of people, and they kept the line moving, but also took the time to engage with you. So many people wanted to meet them. And I got to kind of, as I was roaming around each day, speak to them almost each day. And they're just so amazing. And they remember the conversations with you. They're not just even though there's hundreds, thousands of people who are, walking through, I'll be walking by and there's Danny. And it's just oh my God, which is cool. But they remember those little details about their fans, if you will. And that's always appreciated. So True Crime Garage, check out that podcast. Again, they've been around forever. So if you're oh, let me check it out, I'm new to it. Good luck. And you're welcome, because you have hundreds and hundreds of episodes to go through, which is I actually like, because then you can binge them all. Oh, no, we don't need to do that. All right. This is Court TV's Vinny Pollard. So he was doing a little bit of a filming segment at the Court TV booth. So I was like, oh, all right, let me just walk by and snap a picture. And of course, it's in no order. There's a part 2 to that. Stay tuned. This is Cheryl McCullum from Zone 7 I mentioned earlier. So I got her tote bag, had her sign it. She's amazing. She's like one of the sweetest people ever. So, and we were actually talking about how she's kind of what's next for her and her next adventure, because she was telling me she's about 2 years away from retirement, and kind of what her next project will be. And every time I walk by her, I'm like, Mac, love her. So again, sign up for her podcast, Zone 7. Check it out. You will love it. Okay, this is the part 2 photo. I just happened to like do a selfie, and then he made this like, I don't know what Vinny was doing, but I snapped this photo, and then some of the girls that were working at the booth, I was like, look what I just got. And they were like, tag this on Instagram. They loved it. I'm like, yeah, I just call that Vinny in the wild. It was so funny. And he's a funny guy too. Very serious, but very funny. This is Morph from the Criminology Podcast. So the Criminology Podcast is a mix of Morph and then also Mike from True Crime All the Time. So they do that podcast. Criminology is awesome. Morph is so nice. And Morph has like one of those, I love his voice. It's like super calming. It's like when I first met him last year at CrimeCon, it was one of those like the face isn't what I pictured the book like. The face and the voice, they just didn't go for me. I love his voice on Criminology. It's so like soothing, but great podcast. Great podcast, and super nice guy. For those of you who watch Dateline, you know who this man is, Josh Mankiewicz. So nice, so funny, like such a funny guy. So he was so nice to me. And that was just like, I literally have to be walking through one of the creator row areas, and he was like right there. And I was like, picture please. So yeah, super nice. They had like these little selfie stations. So each day I did one. So you'll see 3 for 3 different outfits. This was my meet and greet for Nancy Grace. And she was so funny because one of my tattoos on my thighs, she was like, what is that? She was obsessed with that tattoo. And that was actually, it's like a colorful rose flower tattoo I got. Oh God, I got that years ago, like years before the pandemic. And it's big, it's colorful, it's bright. The colors have held up great for years. And she loved that tattoo. And she was funny. She's like, next year at CrimeCon, wear shorts again so I can spot you out with that tattoo. And there were so many other people as I'm just walking around that would come up to me and be like, oh my God, that tattoo is amazing. I mean, y'all don't see just kind of based on where I am right now because I don't have like a lot of tattoos on my arms yet. But people seem to really dig that tattoo. So the fact that she was just like, oh my God, I love that. I was like, Nancy Grace likes my ink. Cool. This is Joel Waldman, Surviving the Survivor. Again, I mentioned him earlier. Love him. And the book review that I did a few weeks ago that him and his, he wrote that he did with his mom. I told him that I did a full book review on it, and I sent him the link. And one of the next nights at CrimeCon, he had approached me the next day and was like, I actually listened to it, and that was awesome. So that was so cool. That was really awesome because, yeah, I enjoyed his book, and I fully believe in kind of sharing and passing that on. And I wanted him to know what I thought. So that was cool. They had a selfie station for, y'all know this man. He haunted my haunted my dreams and terrified me as a child. Robert Stack, Unsolved Mysteries. Yeah, the music, the voice, if you know, you know. Yeah. So even though Robert Stack is long gone, rest in peace, they had this little selfie booth with him. So I was like, all right, I'm going to do a few photos. Nancy Grace also every year at CrimeCon has a little bit of like a busted thing. So of course I did one each day. As this goes, I'll show you. And I know I'm wicked behind in the comments, y'all. So my apologies. I'll get to that after. This was my day one look. Yeah. Oh, that's the Paul thing. Day two, this Josh Weber. Oh, he was the first panel that I went to. And I'm a firm believer in giving credit where credit is due. So with that being said, I met him and I was just like, oh, you did an amazing presentation. Again, on the Scott Peterson, like the whole DNA, what the judge will allow and is not allowing, so on and so forth. And I was like, that was amazing. It was great to listen in. And I was like, to be perfectly honest, you are a very handsome man. So, hey, I'm about to get to your photo. So stay here. Stay here, Brandon Hall. Good to see you, hon. So yeah, I totally was just like, you are gorgeous. And then the second day I walked by him. And again, you can't take me anywhere. I just give credit where credit is due. I was like, hey, sexy. And he's just like, I remember you. He's taken. Don't worry, ladies. But I mean, look at him. Look at him. Come on. Come on. This is the wife. So Kim, she is the wife of Joseph Scott Morgan, Body Bags podcast. Love Kim. Me and her had a long chat. I love her. She's amazing. And the way Joseph Scott Morgan talks about her on his podcast, it's so beautiful. So beautiful. And you could tell like she's the heart of the behind the scenes of that, and loved her. Esther from Once Upon a Crime podcast. I've been a fan of her podcast for years. She wasn't at CrimeCon last year and I was super bummed. But when she was there this year, I was like, I have to meet her. Love her podcast. Can't say enough great things. And she was so nice in person. So nice. This is my second little photo booth moment with Robert Stack. So this is Chris Hansen. I just happened to be walking in the hall and I was like, oh my God, Chris Hansen. So I got a quick photo with him. Very, very nice. Very nice. My day two look. Again, same white blazer, so very similar. Brandon Hall, for those of you who are in the chat right now, Music City 911. That is the man, Brandon Hall. So nice. Oh, go back. Dang it. Loved him. Loved his presentation on the Nashville edition for his show. And what I took away most from his panel was, or his speech was, don't be a woo girl. The woo girls of Broadway in Nashville. Yeah. And he's spot on. But very handsome there. Very, very handsome in his suit. Great presenter. Great podcast. So yeah, I'm glad he jumped in the chat here. So that is Brandon Hall, Music City 911. So the next photo is from the meet and greet I did again with John Walsh. I'm sorry, but look at that man. He has barely aged. Still looks amazing. And again, super nice, super friendly. Took the time to, what is your name? Where are you from? How are you enjoying the convention? So on and so forth. There was such a big line for him. So many people didn't even get to meet him. I got in line for that. I think it was like it was an hour 45 before. And I just made the cut to meet him. Just made the cut. There was hundreds and hundreds and he stayed longer than he was supposed to too. So I was very fortunate to meet him. I'm very, very grateful. And I told him meeting him was like an honor, an absolute honor. That was one of the things I was looking forward to at CrimeCon, was to be able to meet him. So I'm super glad I did. Michael Baden. Talk about a legend. A legend. Again, this is just one of those conventions. Oh my God, Kane, if you're still here on the ground, that's the drink I was talking about. Do you see that? Right by my little bag on the ground. That's that drink. Oh my God, that's so funny. Just noticed that. You're just walking through and you see a lot of these, well respected, some of the speakers or presenters or other podcasters, and they're just roaming around as anybody is. But everybody, I have to say, was just so it's that mix of oh, I don't want to bother you, but I was just like, hi. And then Nobody has a problem just kind of stopping and chatting and posing for a photo. And Dr. Michael Baden right there. I was to say starstruck. This man is just he is a legend in his field, a legend. I could sit at a CrimeCon presentation. If he did one from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., I would just sit there the whole time. I would sit there the whole time and I wouldn't leave. And I would still probably be like, this wasn't enough. I want more. Just the wealth of knowledge this man has. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. I was stunned that I got the opportunity to meet him. And this is his wife, the beautiful, beautiful Mrs. Baden. And she's well respected and does in her own right and successful in her own field, Linda Kenny Baden. And yeah, I just grabbed lunch, happened to be walking back, and she was walking my way, and I was like, oh my God. And look at her suit jacket, by the way. Do you guys notice that? There's like these like skull, like it's so, I was like, I love your blazer. Love your blazer. Like such a stylish woman. Like, oh my God. We can all learn a thing or two from her. One, professional wise, she's just amazing in her career. And she's just so stylish. I loved it. She was so sweet too. This was day 3. As you guys can see, I love to rock a little suit jacket. So I did a mix of like business casual, like, again, you're at a convention, you're going to wear sneakers because there's a lot of walking, but business on the top, casual on the bottom. That was my vibe. This is, I've mentioned him several times, Joseph Scott Morgan on the right and Dave Mack on the left. Joseph Scott Morgan, again, podcast Body Bags with Joseph Scott Morgan. They release 3 episodes a week. Holy shit. I don't know how that man has time for anything. And he's a professor at Jack State. I don't know how that man has any free time, but you know what? I am here for it. They used to do like 2 episodes a week. And then recently they announced they were doing 3 episodes a week for the podcast. I'm like, my God, I'm for it. Love it. This pose right here that Joseph is doing, we were joking about like me, him, and Dave Mack, and he was just like, oh, this is Danny After Dark, and did this little pose. And I believe it was his wife, Kim, or his son who snapped this picture. And it was so funny. I was like, I love this. My day 3 little thing. This is the meet and greet book signing I did with Dr. Catherine Ramsland. Again, I told her it was such an honor to be able to meet her, and she's just a legend in this. And I know what everybody's wondering, because I know like the people who I was in line with, we were talking about this. She was a teacher of Brian Koberger, who, as we all know, is in jail right now waiting for the Idaho college slaying. So, and I'm sure she has a gag order. She has not said a peep about that, but yeah, Brian Koberger was her student. So we're just like, of course, being in line with people as you're waiting to do the meet and greets, you're there for like hours, and it's just like, oh man, yeah. So that was, but yeah, she was so nice. So I was very glad I got the opportunity to meet her. This is just one of me and Joseph Scott. And I think that's it. Yeah, so that is the photo portion. I don't even know where to go back with all the comments. You spent some money, Danny. Yeah, a little bit. Oh my God, Wolf, no kidding. All right, I'm just going to quickly scroll through y'all's comments and see if there's any. I just don't want to miss anything. Do your cats use those books to reach the pictures on your wall? No shit. One day people will be there to meet. Wolf, I have a story for that. Does Danny read? Does Beckham like sandwiches? That's funny. Delphi's been a little quiet lately. Right. Nancy hitting on Dan. Yeah, no. Nancy Grace looked pretty there, do you think? Oh, she looked absolutely beautiful because those lights, those were bright lights that I met her under. And lights like that are not forgiving. And and she looked absolutely gorgeous. So, yep. Does Ted Bundy's ex-girlfriend, so Elizabeth Kendall and her daughter Molly, that ever go to these? Yeah, she did write a book. I do have that book. Not that I know of. I know they've done interviews here and there, but no, I don't believe they've gone to anything like this. I'm not sure they would, to be honest. But sure, that's how everyone says they meet Chris Hansen. He aged well. Oh, you're referring to, yeah, John Douglas. To be fair, that's about the only acceptable way to meet Chris Hansen. Oh man. Oh God. Yeah. That was, I was a kid when that happened. Yeah. Did Chris Hansen have some of that lemonade iced tea at the convention? Oh God, you guys. They all seem approachable. Yes, Renee. Thank you for saying that. Everybody is. They're just like everyone, and not just the presenters and the creators and the podcasters. It's even just people there that are just guests like myself, just going for the convention. Everybody's super nice. And because we're all there, we all like the same thing. So even just standing in line waiting to meet something, it's just, you chat with people. It's like, oh, are you from here? Oh no, I flew in from here, or I flew in from here. And it's the second I said Boston, everybody was like, oh my God, the Karen Reed trial. Or depending where other people were, if they're from Indiana, it's like, oh, Delphi, so it was interesting. Danny, the most important thing is, where did you go for coffee? I know, girl, the Starbucks line was crazy. I only ended up getting Starbucks once. And I think it was like late Saturday night, like when the convention was over. And it still did me no good because I still went back and like passed out. But yeah, it was, I know. Joseph Scott looks oh my God, he's so nice. So nice. Always been seen to have only one. Oh my God, you are bad. Bad. You guys are crazy. Anyway, all right, I think I'm caught up on the chat. So let me just pull up notes for any last minute. Okay, so I mentioned, again, like everybody, as Renee pointed out, everybody was approachable. Everybody was super nice. And everybody was not only that, but actually supportive. So just in chatting with people in regards to, other podcasters are just like, oh, they're like, hey, what got you into true crime, or whatever it may be. I mentioned, oh, I have a really small, but, slowly growing, YouTube channel, Danny After Dark, and just kind of chatting with them. And so many people, like, I can't thank them enough. Were just like, as other people would come up to the booth, they would introduce themselves and be like, hey, this is Danny. She has a channel, Danny After Dark. Check it out and subscribe. And I'm just like, oh my God, thank you. Like, it was just so nice. And then one of the podcasters, Esther from Once Upon a Crime, she, was it on Sunday? I forget, but it was one of the days after. I happened to be walking by and she's like, Danny After Dark. And I was just like, wait, what? And she said she had watched some of my show. And that was that was so cool. And she was asking about, because I mentioned how I used to do like the pre-film videos, and now I do the live content, and just kind of how my show has evolutionized, if you will. And she was mentioning some of the guests that I've had on here, and in regards to even like the Friday night, true crime and chill with Beckham and Liz. And of course, like, I was like, oh my God, like she really watched it. And yeah, so of course I, messaged that, and Beckham's just like, did she ask about me? Did people ask about me? I'm like, Beckham, for Christ's sakes. Like, for Christ's sakes, Beckham, it's not always all about you. But hey, Bill, welcome back. But Tony, when are you not picking on me? James Watson. You're going to be the reason that people stop watching the show. No, I'm just kidding. But it was just, it was so cool. And it wasn't just like one influencer or podcaster. And it was so many of them that would just be like, oh, hey, this is my friend Danny. This is Danny After Dark. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Sorry, that's my motto. But it'd be like, check it out. Subscribe to her YouTube channel. So, and and I'm still just like, did that happen? Like what? So I was in line for one of the podcasters, content creators, because I wanted to meet them, get my picture with them. And this, no joke, it was the weirdest thing. I like took my phone out. I was like, I can't, like messaging like Liz, Paul, Becca. I can't believe this is happening. This woman didn't know her. I think was she in back of me, in front of me? I can't even remember. But she was just like, I know who you are. You're Danny. And I'm like, yeah. She's like, Danny After Dark. I'm subscribed to your channel. And I was like, wait, what? And so she pulled it up, and yeah, she was subscribed. And so she asked for a picture with me. She's like, oh my God, this is Danny. Asked for a photo with me. And of course, I'm like, oh, me? It was, as much as I'm like, oh, I'm the best. I'm the, like, you know, joking. It was weird. I was just like, what the heck? Like, this is weird. But I was super like, yes, of course you can get your picture with me, but me? I'm just a book nerd here. Like, I have a backpack full of like 10 books right now I'm lugging around. Like, this is the real nerdy me. But that was cool. It was cool because then like other people in line, she was just like, you guys, pull up YouTube. This is Danny After Dark. Subscribe to her channel. And like, it was cool. It was cool, but it was weird because I'm like, that's never happened. So of course I message, you know, a few people right away. And, you know, Paul is just, see, like I told you, you should go. That's awesome. Beckham being Beckham is just like, that's great. But did she talk about me? What did she say about me? And I'm like, really? Really? And he's not even here right now. Like, screw him. But it was just like, it was so weird. It was weird. But kind of cool too. So yeah, but again, everybody there was just so supportive. It's just one of those like really interesting type of communities. And again, he was in here earlier, Brandon Hall, Music City 911. Shout out for him. Additionally, because, you know, talking with him about like, I was at his booth at one point, we were just chit chatting, and he mentioned like a QR code for my channel. And I was just like, I don't have one. I don't know how to do that. I'm not a technology person at all. And he's like, you got 5 minutes? Just stand here and I'll make you one right now. I'm like, wait, what? Yeah. And he made a QR code. So it was cool because then at that point, anybody that if I was interacting with them, I'm like, yeah, I have this channel, scan my QR code, and it would bring them right to my YouTube homepage and they could subscribe to it, which was really cool. So Brandon Hall was very generous with his time to not only do that for me, but yeah, just explain that and just, you know, going forward, like, hey, next year you should maybe do this with a QR code. And he didn't have to do that at all. Did not have to do that, but he did. So it's very appreciated and does not go unnoticed. So thank you, Brandon. So that's kind of the gym. Oh my God, over an hour and a half already. That's kind of that about CrimeCon this year. Let me just see where you guys are in the chat and we'll start to wind things down. She's Danny After Dark, like and subscribe. The Paulcast, not so much. Well, you know, it is what it is. Also a known associate of the Paulcast. That's funny. Oh my God. Okay, Todd, you're getting a star for that. That's pretty funny. And James, you've already gotten 2 stars, so you've hit your limit. Thanks. You know, the other day I ran into Danny. She was going to punch me in the nose. Then probably Tony, but that's like the start of like what I would say is a beautiful friendship. So yeah, please, God, that wouldn't have. Oh God. You know what's funny? That $200 wouldn't even put a dent in the amount I spent. It's like crazy. I love my math of like, okay, if I buy 1 or 2 books now, and then I go back a couple hours later and get another one. My bag was so heavy when I came back it was so heavy. I think that's awesome. Oh, cool. Thanks, Renee. Do you plan to write a book, Danny? I can picture you there selling a book. No, I have nothing to like. nothing to create and add to anything. So, no. I mean, if that changes, y'all be the first to know, but I don't have any, personal insight into any case to like, if anything, Liz is going to write a tell-all of like, yeah, the rise and fall of Danny After Dark. Like that whole like shit show. Just kidding. But I should, Wolf, you know what? I should. Paulcast behind the scenes, the Danny After Dark true story about what it's like to work with Paul and Beckham. I think that would be a bestseller. Beckham was too busy falling down the hillside at Spawn. Oh my God, so funny. Oh, I slid. I didn't fall. Yeah, it took him like a year to admit that. Yeah, actually, I did fall. Hey, Jim Morrison. Thanks for tuning in, hon. Thanks for sharing your adventures. Oh, no, thank you. Thank you again for keeping me up to date on everything with Charles Daybell while I was away. But thank you, and for everybody for being interested in my CrimeCon trip. And for those of you who are, watching this after it's, not live anymore, and just, maybe someone's scrolling through about, CrimeCon, seeing what it's like, and they stumble upon this. And I hope this gives some great, insight into what the convention is. And again, I would say to anybody, if you're like, should I go? Should I not go? Go. You'd love it. You would love it. Love it. Again, aspects for everybody into true crime. Like there's something for everybody. For the amount of panels that they got offer, again, it's like 4 or 5 all at once. And it's like every hour and a half. There's so much. So, oh, well, thank you. She'll write a romance novel about Fiddle. I don't think people are interested in one paragraph, like blurbs. I don't know. Are you the reason people check in on Paulcast? What do you mean am I the reason check in? Like to make sure he's still alive, that I haven't taken him out? Cats and Crime, the Danny story. Wolf. You're going to starve for that. That's cool. Paulcast, the mockumentary. Who the fuck is Paulcast and who the fuck cares? That's amazing. So I also posted on, I wasn't going to show it here, on my, again, Danny After Dark Instagram account. So at the Court TV booth, there was this huge wall where you could write like a little note. It's really whatever you wanted, but the caption they had was like, what true crime thing are you into right now? It was something like that. And you could write it on their little Court TV, little sticky papers, pin it to their wall. And then they had some red ink where you could like, add your like fingerprint, like almost look like a bloody fingerprint type of thing, just as like a little touch if you wanted to. Not everybody did, because that ink was a bitch to get off. Anyway, I think I went there like 4 or 5 times. And of course I put like Danny After Dark on one. And then I wrote one for like the Liz, like just like people were like writing stuff, but then also being kind of cutesy and funny about it. So I did that. And then Paul messages me and he's like, what? No Paulcast ones? No Manson Saga? Like really? And I'm like, little bitch. So I did one, and James Watson actually took a photo of it and saved it and put it in the Manson Saga group on Facebook. And it was I just wrote like, who the fuck was Paulcast? And yeah, that was funny. Yeah, James Watson did something in our group, like coming to like a series coming soon, a 5-part documentary, whatever it was James wrote. It was so funny. But yeah, I posted that again over on my Instagram. So yeah, other than that, feeling sorry for the cats tonight. I bet they're wanting to go in on the show. No. So there was a vendor. You know what's funny, Tony Stewart? I don't know, I'm winding down. There was a vendor who was selling like handmade, like little blankets and stuff, anything kind of true crime related, right? And one of the things they had was these like little catnip hand sewn toys, like again, obviously like true crime themed, right? So of course I'm like, my babies. So I got one, and I know with like some of that stuff, it's either hit or miss. So I was like, I could either buy like 1 or 2 or buy like 5, like whatever. But I bought one. I was like, because what if they don't like it? Whatever's fine. Oh my God, they're like obsessed with it. They've been batting it around all day. Like one of them will take it and run off, and it's like whatever catnip they used in that toy is like potent, and they love it. So yeah, they're preoccupied with that right now. Other than that, you guys, that is that for my CrimeCon 2024 Nashville recap. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If any of you guys have any questions about CrimeCon, feel free to, again, leave a comment below or message me, the Danny After Dark on Instagram, and I'd be more than happy to answer it because, yeah, sometimes, again, these conventions are pretty cool. And I know people travel from a lot of places to come to it. So especially if people are on the fence, if it's just like, hey, I saw your video and, you know, I'd be coming from here. Again, it's in Denver next year. So 2025, it's in Denver. So any questions I can answer about CrimeCon, I'd be more than happy to because, yeah, it's my second year. I absolutely enjoyed it. And yeah, I'm looking at my pile of books on the ground right now. And I'm like, oh shit, I got to pick that up. But I'm looking forward to reading those and going over them with you guys. So it felt good picking on you, Danny. You know what, Tony Stewart, it's all good. I know, hon. All right, everybody, enjoy the rest of your night. I'll be back later in the week with a true crime and chill. So until next time, remember, we don't live in darkness. Darkness lives in us. Bye, everyone.